following episode of Dad vs. Daughter was made possible by a contribution from Tasty Minstrel Games. Embark from Tasty Minstrel Games is kind of like an action selection game. We're going to be assigning our workers behind our shields to various boats that are going to be sailing to certain islands. And then once we start placing those from behind our shield onto the boats, there are certain jobs that they're going to have that they will perform on the island. So Dad and his lunch group have been playing this quite a bit. So I'm going to show you how the game is played, and then I'm going to tell you what we think. I have the demonstration set up to show off a 3-player game. So you can see the player colors. We have green, black, and blue. So kudos for the fact that they have both green and blue for Dad versus Daughter colors. There are also 2 other colors because the game plays up to 5. We have red or pink, and we have yellow. Now, the back of our player shields show us our guide here. So basically it outlines the different phases of the game that we have, where we have our basically our assigning, our boarding, our basically going to the island, and then the island action itself. And then it shows our in-game scoring here. Now the island boards are double-sided. I'll show you one of the unused ones here. And the island is divided up into 3 areas. You have your explore area, you have your farming area, and then you have your mining area. Now down at the bottom you have letters that represent where the boats are going to go, and like I said, this is double-sided. And then also at the top you'll see where we have these locks. There's going to be certain things that we're going to be able to unlock when we are exploring. You'll notice that we have on this one we have 2 keys, or 2 locking keys, so we're going to put those there. And as we place explorers on the island, when they get to those spots, they will unlock that, and then those unlocked locks will go to the top, and those are going to give us special bonuses that island is going to be able to do. So I've got 1 lock there, or 1 key there, and 1 over here, and they're all different as far as what they do. Now you'll notice I have spots here. We have the A, B, we have the J, K, and we have the C, D. Now, should have probably switched those so that it would just go in alphabetical order, but that's okay. So we have boats for each one of those lettered spots, and we have a stack of boats that we're going to be shuffling up and dealing from. And when the boats go to the island, when they're full, and they unload their colonists or their explorers, whatever, then essentially what we do is we just push it to show that the boats go up to the island. They are assigned whatever job that they have, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And then once they have been used, then they all go away. So let's just say that those 2 were used. So we just discard those. At the end of the turn, we will put 2 new boats out. And you can see that they range in size from 2 all the way up to 6. But the first thing we do after we do all this setup is we have a deck of cards here. It's a little bit smaller, but these are the talent cards. And I showed these off in the unboxing, but they're all different. And they all offer different kinds of special abilities that people are going to have. So like, for instance, this one, this is one I really like, the Stowaway. It says once per boarding stage, you may place 1 extra voyager below the last berth on a full boat. It'll become a captain. And I'll talk about what the captain does as well as the other jobs. So you can see there's a bunch of different ones here. There's Flexible Travelers is another one, which is good because it helps let you assign to other places. Where is the one I really like? The Harbor Master. This may be my favorite. Once per landing stage, you may choose to launch a boat even though it's got some empty berths remaining. So basically, I could put my guys on a boat, and even if it is not full, I can go ahead and send it to the island. So I really like that card. So what we're going to do is, based on the number of players, we're going to put 1 of these cards out per player plus 2, and then beginning with the first player who gets this snazzy little ship's wheel, and you'll notice Dargon from TMG is right there in the middle. We're going to draft these. So each player will draft 1, and then all the unused ones are returned to the box. You'll notice next to each player's player's shield, they have 30 cubes of their color. Now on a turn, what we're going to do is we are going to take 5 of these cubes. These are nice wooden cubes. And what we're going to do is we are going to assign them to our board behind our shield. Now everybody's board pretty much looks the same. The only thing that is different is this is the player's pub, and the pub names are different, and they're all pretty funny. This one is the Drunken Dwarf. He's one of my favorite ones, but you'll see just on the back of that, it just shows the artwork there. But on a player's turn, what they're going to do is behind their screen, they are going to assign these 5 workers, and these letters represent the different boats. Now, it goes from A through K, and you'll notice that we don't have all those in a 3-player game, so there's going to be some of these spots that we don't use. But we will use A, B, C, D, and J, K. So what we're going to do is we can assign as many that we want to those boats. So let's just say that, looking at this, the J boat needs 4, and I want to put 4 guys on the J boat, and let's say I want to put 1 guy on the K boat. Well, I'm going to do that behind my screen. All the other players are going to do the same thing. Then what we're going to do is everybody's going to reveal what they selected. And so like I said, I put 4 on the J. We're going to put them underneath the boats like this. So then what we're going to do in player order, we are going to assign our guys to the boats. Now you'll notice that the boats have different icons on them. Now these represent the different jobs that they're going to have in the island. This first spot here is a house. This basically represents a farmer. And then these 2 are the same. Those represent miners. On this card here, we have the warrior, who he will displace another player's cube on the board, sending that player's cube back to their pub. And when a cube goes back to a pub, then on a future turn, they can be assigned. So instead of just having 5, if they had 1 guy that went back to the pub, they would actually be assigning 6 on that turn. The anchors are for the captain spots. Now, these are basically wilds that can be used to go to any place of those 3 areas on the island that they want. And then we have another warrior symbol. Now, I just noticed that on my cards that I have out for the boats, I'm still missing one of the areas. And I'll just look at this boat here, and this icon represents the explorers, and you'll notice that each of the areas for the jobs kind of correspond to the color that's on the islands. So you can see this is the yellow, which is kind of like the beach on the islands. The green, where the farmers are at, is like where the trees are, and then the gray is for the mines. Now when we resolve boats, when we unload, they're going to unload from bow to stern and in order. So you can see kind of how they go. So in this case, the 3 explorers would be assigned first, and then the next 2 farmers, and then the miner. So like I said, in player order, we're going to assign our workers to these boats. So let's say the black player wants to go to they want to have that guy be a farmer. Blue guy, there's only 2 spots left. They're both miners. So he's going to assign there. Now, because the boat is not full, and unless the player has the Harbor Master talent card, that boat is going to sit there until it's full. So that could be the next round. It could be the following round. It may not even happen during the game, but those cubes are locked up. Going to the next boat here, you can see only the black player sent workers. Now, they could go to any of these spots, but once this boat is launched, like I said, they're going to go in order. So let's just say he wants to be on the take that side, so he's going to take both of those warrior positions. Next, let's say the green player was the first player here. He will take 1 and he will do his assignment. So let's say he wants to take a farmer, and then the next player would be the black player. He's going to go here, and then finally blue is going to take that captain spot. Now it goes back to green, and green there's only 1 spot left, so he's going to take that. Now, like I said, you'll notice there are 2 that missed the boat. So since these 2 cannot be assigned to that boat, they go back to that player and they go to the pub. In this case, the green player's pub is called the Tipsy Troll. Nobody was assigned to this boat, so nothing happens there. Blue player was the only one that goes here. He's going to go ahead and take Let's say he takes a farmer and a warrior spot. And then finally, this boat over here, let's say the green player was first. He takes the warrior, the black player will take the miner, and because the blue did not get on that boat, goes back to the player's pub. So the next thing we do is we move on to the landing stage. So we look to see which boats are full, and those will go and dock to the island. So in this case, there's only the 2 that go there. So starting at the top, green player will send 1 to a farm. The black player will send 1 to farm. Blue guy he has a captain, so he can decide where he wants to go. So let's just say he decides to go up here to this mine. And then the green player decides, well, you know what? The blue player went to that mine. I'm going to go to this mine. So this one goes to a mine, and this one goes to a warrior. So the way the warrior works is there's only one place or one player to disperse here or displace. So he's going to go up and he's going to take that spot. And this cube will then go back to the player's pub. So since both of these boats have been used and they're empty, we're going to go ahead and move those to the discard, and we will put 2 new boats out in their place. Now we go on to the island stage. Now this is where we're going to score points and do some things. Any of the explorers that we have are going to get a point apiece, but in this case we don't have anybody there, so we're not going to have anybody collecting any of the 1-point victory tokens for the explore action. Next we have farming. We're going to look and see if we have 4 farmers. If we did, what we would do is we would take one of these farm tiles that shows 15 points, and let's just go ahead and say that we did have on this island, we had 4 farmers. We'll just position them like that, and then we would put this farm tile on there. Now what this does is 2 things. It's going to show that we're going to get 15 points for that farm. So usually what we do is after we take our 15-point token, then we flip this over to the other side to show that we've done it. And it stays there because what's going to happen is any warriors that come, those colonists are protected. So we don't have to worry about them being displaced. Because at the end of the game, we're going to score points based on how far our explorers got and how many of the colonists that we have on our farms. The last thing we're going to do on the island stage is we're going to actually handle the mining. When we did our setup, showing a blank island here, you'll notice these numbers at the top. That's how many of the ore tokens that we're going to place there. So this mine would get 5 and those 2 would both get 3. But so I've already got those set up here. So the blue would actually get 1 ore token, and the green would get 1 ore from that. And then green would also collect an ore over here. Now, once a mine runs out, those workers are basically stuck there. They're not going to be able to be replaced unless for some reason somebody would come up with a warrior. They may have a bonus that may give them points for the number of miners they have, but essentially they are going to be stuck working in a coal mine. At the end of the round, what we're going to do is we're going to take that first player token and we're going to pass it clockwise, and then we're going to start all over again. Now the game is only going to be played over 6 rounds. I mentioned earlier that each player has 30 cubes, and on each turn what you're going to do is you're going to take 5 of those cubes from your supply and you're going to assign them. So the math works out pretty good there. So in a nutshell, that's how to play Embark. Very easy game. This is one, like I said, we've played many times over lunch. So speaking of lunch, let's hear what Dad and his lunch group think of the game. I bring in games all the time to play at lunch, and the sign of a good game for my group, as far as being a good fit, is when they say, hey, let's bring that game back next week. Because usually what we do is we'll sit and we'll play a game, 3 or 4 times during the week over lunch. And I know some players have been wanting to play this, have not been able to, and the other players that have played it want to play it some more. So my group has really been kind of enjoying this game, and they want to continue playing it. So that's a good sign. The quality of the components is pretty good. The thickness on the cardboard tokens is good. These are just standard wooden cubes. They're a little bit bigger than average, I guess, so that's nice. The finish and the artwork on the cards is really nice. This is set in the same universe as Harbor and Harvest, so it kind of follows that. You'll notice some of the things like, the Tipsy Troll, the naming kind of follows along with that, and so does the artwork. But the artwork, like I said, is really nice. The gameplay, I think, is really cool. It does remind me of Emotep as far as loading things, loading your guys up on the boat and sending them off, and possibly having them sit there until those boats are full. Having those talent cards, like I said, there's quite a few of those, and they all have the different powers, I think really adds to the replayability. And the fact that you have a lot of boats. I mean, you're going to go through probably more than half of this deck, but you can see there's just a lot of different configurations, so really like that. The finish on the cards is really nice too. The player screens, like I said, it's got the player aid on the back. The cardboard on these are nice and sturdy. I do like the fact that these don't slide out, so even when you're picking these up, these are not sliding and falling off. So good thick cardboard, and they're not going to go anywhere. The fact that the island cards are double-sided, I think also adds to the replayability, so that was a nice touch. Would have been nice probably to have several more. I mean, the game comes with 5. You can have a maximum of 5 players. I probably would have liked to have seen at least another 5 islands, but there's always a chance of an expansion, so we might be able to see a lot more islands, a lot more talent cards, and maybe even some different kinds of boats in the future. The rule book, I think, is pretty nice. There's not really a lot to the rules, and I've not run into any questions, but this will tell you, this section here tells you what each of the different jobs do. You got your different stages that are spelled out, and then you have your in-game scoring, which I didn't mention this, but based on the number of ore tokens you've collected will also determine how many points you're going to get for that. And then, of course, there's the bonuses that are at the tops of each island, which, since you're going to be using different islands and different sides, you're really going to have a lot of different flavors to come across. So again, that adds to the replayability. Now, I do have 2 kind of complaints with the game. They're the first one's kind of more of a quibble, and that is in the rulebook, and I pointed this out in our unboxing, the victory point tokens here, it shows a 1, 3, 5, and 10, but the problem is there are no 3s and there are no 10s. So that was kind of a mistake, I think, that got through the review process and ended up in the rule book. So like I said, that's kind of a minor thing. More of a bigger problem I have is the box size. Now, I understand they wanted to keep the box size small. I mean, you can see there that it is a small box, but there are so many components that it's kind of a struggle to get everything back in the box properly and get it closed correctly. So you kind of have to play a little Tetris almost in order to get everything to go in the way that it should. And you'll notice that it's going to be a little bit open by the time I get this all the way. It's not much, and you can see right there. But I guess if you have one of those box, they call them box rubber bands, I guess, that would keep it closed. But you can see I usually don't like to have that in my games, especially when I put them on the shelf, because I usually set them up upright like this. But again, just kind of a minor thing. I really wish the box would have been just a little bit bigger. So that is Embark. Like I said, I've enjoyed the game. My lunch group has enjoyed the game. We look forward to playing it even some more. So we will catch you guys next time. If you would like to support us, you can visit patreon.com/dadvdaughter.
Like and follow us on Facebook to stay current on our show schedule, sneak peeks at future shows, and to interact with us.